WNYathletics.com would like to thank today's sponsors. Howard Hanna Real Estate Services. Ready to sell your home? Visit howardhanna.com today. Howard Hanna. Home happens here. Western New York Immediate Care, with 4 convenient locations in the Buffalo area: Amherst, Buffalo, Depew, Lancaster, and Orchard Park. Western New York Immediate Care is now offering telemedicine services to provide you care anytime, anywhere. Visit WNY Immediate Care on-site or virtually at WNYimmediatecare.com. Logistics Plus Buffalo is your go-to resource for all your transportation needs. LP moves freight of all shapes and sizes all across the world. Call LP Buffalo today at 716-877-9653 or email buffalo@logisticsplus.com. AdPro Sports. AdPro is the largest team sports dealers and brand merchandise providers in the nation. For a variety of custom merchandise solutions, from apparel to promotional items, visit adprosports.com. Empire Electric. For all your home, business, or office electrical needs, call Empire Electric at 716-634-0330. Free estimates and financing available for all customers. Empire Electric. Call 716-634-0330.
All right, welcome into this week's edition of High School Sports Saturday. We're hitting the mats one last time this year as we recap the wrestling season. We have our Matt O'Rourke is in, as well as we're going to talk to a couple of the top wrestlers who had strong finishes to their seasons. But first, let's bring you up to speed real quick and what's going on this week in high school sports. It's regional weekend for basketball. We have girls regionals are today at Buffalo State, and the boys regionals are out at Rochester. Let me show you the boys schedule. All these games on the NFHS network. We have Randolph and Lions. That'll be at 11 o'clock in Class B. Fredonia will take on Newark. Class A, Amherst against Irondequoit. Class D, Panama versus Prattsburg, Evkova, and then Class AA, Niagara Falls versus Victor at 7:30. Those games all on the NFHS network. Our Mark Johnson, Tim Rozek will be on the call for the last 2 games you can see on your screen. That'll be followed up. Also going on today is the girls' schedule. You can kind of see it very similar times. It starts 11 with Class AA. Lancaster takes on Webster Schroeder. Class D, Panama versus Kenesha, 1 o'clock. And then Randolph takes on Pavilion. That'll be at 3 o'clock. Class B, Depew, their first ever trip to regionals, will take on Waterloo. And then the nightcap will be Hamburg, who had that upset win over Williamsville South earlier this week. They'll take on Canandaigua Academy. So plenty of action going on. We also know that boys hockey states are in town this weekend. They're actually, I think they'll be starting in about 20 minutes or so. Unfortunately, no Section 6 teams in the tournament in that one, but certainly something we'll be all over this weekend. We have our crew is on for that one. Going to do a great job. But we are here to talk wrestling, so let me bring him in. It's the one and only Matt O'Rourke with the one and only Cam Catcherbone. Matt, let's see. How do you want to start today? Do you want to talk to the Cam, or do you want to intro kind of like your thought? How about we start with this? So give me a couple takeaways from states last weekend.
Well, thanks for having us, Francis. And yes, right next to me is Williamsville North Junior, Cam Catcherbone.
Oh, he's only a junior?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
New York State champion at 145 pounds. Williamsville North's first ever state champion in 59 years of the state tournament, if you can believe that. I wish I could say 60, but of course we didn't have COVID year 2021 state tournament. So 59 years of the state tournament, school's first ever state champion right here. And the staff over at North put on a really nice welcome home for him. It was really nice to see. We could probably talk about it. But let's get into your question, though, first. Big takeaway. Cam knows a lot, too. He can probably comment on some of this as well. He knows most of what's going on around here. But big weekend for Section 6 in Albany 2 weekends ago. Top 5 finishes for both of our large school and small school teams in the sectional team standings. Only the first time that's happened in back-to-back years in the history of in the split division format of the state tournament since 2004. It's only happened once, and it was last year. that both of our teams placed top 5 in their divisions, did it again this year. So that's a really, really big thing for me. After not having any state champions last year, we had 4 this year, which was enormous. We had 5 finalists. The one who did fall in the finals, he was just here from Newfane a couple weeks ago, maybe the best match of the entire finals of 2 very accomplished wrestler he faced was also a 2-time returning state place winner. So 2 very, very, excuse me, really, really great final with Jilly from Newfane. But we had 4 champions. We placed top 5, 5th place for both divisions. In small schools, we had 11 place winners in each division. In small schools, 10 of our place winners are returning next year. 1 senior amongst those 11 place winners. That's huge. In big schools, we lose more place winners. We'll have 4 of 10 back next year. However, we'll return 17 state tournament qualifiers led by this guy right here going into next season. So we have a lot to look forward to already. I've been in here a couple of times going over the season, giving different updates. I know weeks ago, feels like forever ago, that we talked about our league champion teams. Since then, we've obviously been over our league championship teams, our New York State dual meet tournament performance, right, with Starpoint winning that thing. We went over our girls invitational, our class tournaments, and excuse me, and then our sectional tournaments, which we don't score, but obviously, that's how we qualify our state qualifiers for Albany. So I think we did come here because we have the Newfane guys. Mm-hmm. So we're up to date pretty much other than the state tournament. So that's kind of where we're at. Let's see, we had a couple of wrestlers representing their schools. We'll talk to one of them in here in a while, but we had 2 wrestlers break some long streaks of their schools not having a state place winner. We'll talk to Cam Millender from Sweet Home here, and we'll get to him, who broke a long streak in his program. But Jack McDonald from Orchard Park, who we've talked about a few times, broke a streak of an Orchard Park place winner, of Orchard Park not having a place winner since 2004. They finally have another place winner this year, so that was pretty cool. Let's see. I know some of the heavyweight sections in big schools, sections 8 and 11, neither of them won the big school tournament. Neither of them even took second place, actually, as a matter of fact. Section 9 won the big school tournament again. Section 2 actually took second place in the standings, which does that mean anything if you're a Section 6 fan right now? No. But that just shows you like the changing landscape of high school wrestling in New York State, right? In Albany, we have the Journeyman Wrestling with Coach Popolizio, who runs that thing. And all of those kids that are in all those big schools, anywhere within an hour or 2 of Clifton Park, go there. And they've set a format of how it can be done to take down, not that it's us versus them, but sections 8 and 11 are the big heavyweights in big school, high school wrestling in New York State. But sometimes, there's a changing of the guard, and it's interesting to kind of see that happen just over the last couple of years with Section 2. They never normally place this high consistently, They've been top 5, top 6. Now they're top 2. That's huge for them. That's a huge, huge thing. It just goes to show that a population center in upstate New York, just like Albany, just like us, right? Very balanced section. We were very balanced, big schools and small schools, how it can be done. So there's a lot to look forward to going into next year. Overall, I think the wrestlers had a great weekend. We had 58 wrestlers from Western New York, 26 in small schools in Section 6, 26 in big schools, and then, of course, 2 Monsignor Martin place winners as well from St. Joe's. So, overall, it was a great weekend. What did you think, Cam? You were there all weekend. It's your 3rd trip there. What did you think?
Considering we didn't even have Starpoint there, I thought we wrestled super well, which is something I was worried about for my team next year, is if we didn't perform and we would have only had one qualifier for each weight next year. So it was good to see everybody wrestle well, and now we stick with 2.
Well, it's an aggregate score over a couple of years. It doesn't just you're right. A bad placement aggregate wise can drop you down in a year or 2 years or 3 years from now, definitely. So you're going to be setting up, like your finish this year is going to be setting, and next year is going to be, or the year in last year is going to be setting up wrestlers long after you're a couple years out of high school for you. So it is important if you're interested in making sure that you leave a legacy, or like the section continues to go on the rise, and we overall keep getting better and better and better. Because I've kind of enlightened a little bit after the state tournament, even as much as like I'm involved and I see what's going on. Even I'm like, wow, we can do this. Like we can be one of those best sections. We have a huge population center here. We have tradition-rich programs. You know, it's a very diverse wrestling culture that we have, but it's a very healthy one too. And I think there's a lot of positives to take away from all corners of this section and all corners of this area. So, what else? What else did you like about Albany this year? What'd you think?
I mean, it was just cool seeing us have multiple state champions in both divisions,
Yep.
which is something we're not really used to.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, yeah, I can't really think of many wrestlers that didn't wrestle well. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think everyone knew their expectations and everyone lived up to them for the most part, I would say. We definitely had, I mean, we had 58 wrestlers, right? 36 advanced to day 2.
Wait, say those numbers again.
We had 58 wrestlers in the tournament. 36 wrestlers advanced to day 2 of the tournament. That's a huge number.
That's over half.
That's well over half, yeah. And by advancing to day 2, I mean either we're in the semifinals, so on Friday night, the blood round last year was on Friday night. This year they moved it back to Saturday morning. So wrestlers who reached the semifinals on Friday night were done for the day. Obviously, if you reach the semifinals, you're locked into a placement and you come back for Saturday, so you're locked in. The other set of wrestlers who I'm referencing advancing to day 2 would be wrestlers who made it to the blood round, which is now Saturday morning. So we had a ton of wrestlers in the blood round. And if you win your blood round match, you're guaranteed a top 8 finish in the state. But you have to win. You have to, win one final match on Friday. If you lose once on Friday, you have to go out on top. Basically, go out on top of winner on Friday night. If you go out on top of winner on Friday night after having already taken a loss, you land in the blood round. And it's a very, very critical round, obviously, not only for placement, but for team score as well. I mean, you can keep a lot of wrestlers alive in the tournament, even if they don't win again, by scoring like advancement points and placement points and stuff. But if they're out in the blood round, that's it. Their tournament's over with. So it's a crucial round. And obviously, just in the lifeblood of wrestling, that's where you see like some of the best battles. It's like, okay, who's going to really like man up here? You're not going to take first place. You're not going to take second place. The best you can do is third. So it's like who really has like the nerve to I don't know, to do it, to persevere, exactly. So there's a lot of different variables in it. It's a lot of people's favorite round. Usually you'll hear people talk about like the semifinals going on at the same time as the blood round, and everyone's just like the head is spinning because they can't keep track of like, oh, who's going to make the finals, who's going to get knocked out of the tournament, right? I mean, what's your analysis on it? You watch all these matches.
I mean, yeah, I feel like the blood round is always like one of the most exciting rounds. Mm-hmm. Just like whether it's at the NCAA tournament or the state tournament or anywhere. I mean, and that's just how it's always been.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
So Cam, let me ask this question. You're at the time you're still in the tournament competing in your own matches, but you still are able to watch other ones. How do you use that play into your like game plan or focus? Do you ever worry about like, oh, if I'm spending too much time watching this match, I won't be fully focused for my next one?
Yeah, well, actually, I really didn't focus on anyone else, really. I just kind of stayed in my own head, maybe watched some of my good friends wrestle, and other than that, I just kind of made sure I just worried about me first.
Yeah. He's super well connected, so I get that. He's got to, he's watching, he knows everybody across the state, so I know he's always peeking an eye on, keeping track of everybody, what everybody else is doing, but yeah, I know. Super laser focused this time around, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kim, why don't we talk about you for a second? Why don't you walk me through? You knew you came in as one of the favorites. The favorite in this one. So walk me through your game plan throughout the weekend to win a state title.
Before the tournament started, I knew that I was the best wrestler in the bracket by far. I just knew I had to be there mentally. That the only way I could lose is if I had I mentally shut down or let something happen that shouldn't happen because of the stage or everything that's going on around me. So I just made sure I was focused on winning and not on anything else going on around me. Like even the weeks leading to the state tournament, I just made sure I wasn't worried about anything else except wrestling the best I can. And if I wrestle the best I can, there's no way I lose.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any maybe matchups that maybe wrestlers that give you maybe a little bit harder time than you expected, or was it pretty much?
Actually, yeah. In the semis, I didn't expect the kid to be so fast. Like I saw him in the back I don't know if you know how it works, but in the back it's kind of like a warm up area, and I saw the kid warming up, and he was taking like 5-hour energies, like shots of them, like the little, and then he was drinking like energy drinks, and I was just like, what? Like this kid's gonna crash, and then he was so fast. I took a shot. He headbutted me so hard I hit my head again, which was like deja vu from last year. But I made sure that didn't alter anything. And I just had to wrestle hard the whole time. And that's the only match that I didn't get a pin. But and then watching him in the consolation, that's when his crash hit in the consolations.
Wow. Yeah. So he pinned each of his first two opponents. Then had a close semifinal. 5-2, I think, was the final. So it was the only decision. And then, of course, in the final, it's 0-0 in the second period. Reverses the guy, takes him back to the mat, pins him in his patented bulldog far wrist and half Nelson. So, yeah, I mean, he was definitely the favorite in the weight class. Yes, and to one of the favorites, obviously, in the entire tournament. We had 2 number 1 seeds, both win, obviously, out of Section 6 with him and Jaden Crumpler from Niagara Falls, who had a really, really, really good weight class. So those were, not just a dominant performance. One of those performances, Francis, where it's like you kind of know who the favorite is, and the favorite kind of like lives up to the hype type of moment. You see it every year. You see a weight class or 2 every year where there's at least one guy where it's like. Not only will I not be surprised if he wins this thing, but I won't be surprised if he pins everybody. That was Cam. So he training for it all year. Obviously, came up a little short last year. Burning the back of his mind. Had a huge season. Francis, we went to a lot of different tournaments this year. A lot of big nationally accredited tournaments alongside in parallel with obviously the regular high school season. And got him totally prepared. Right? You went to some of the best tournaments that high schoolers can go to during the season. How did those tournaments prepare you and for the state? To be fair, you did say after the state tournament, yes, this wasn't the best tournament. But that's why you go to these tournaments, right? To get national exposure, to wrestle the very best from across the country. So how did wrestling, Powerade, and Beast of the East and all those sharpen you and get you ready to make sure that there was no it was all business in Albany at the state tournament?
Yeah, because I feel like the kids you wrestle at the state tournament aren't as high level or as skilled as not even close to as skilled as the guys that I'll wrestle at Powerade or Super 32. But it's just the stage that it's on and the amount of pressure behind the state tournament for your school and your community. When I've done things way harder than winning state titles, but I don't get even a fraction of the credit that I do for winning a state title. Right. You know what I mean? So that's why I feel like it really does change how it changes the results at the state tournament, where kids will win who aren't as good as their opponents. But I feel like that. But just wrestling at other tournaments, like wrestling at Powerade this year, and I feel like that's almost what I train for. Honestly, is the national tournaments, and then states is the reward, because you get so much credit for winning it. Sure. But at the end of the day, it's just wrestling.
Yeah. In states is a big deal. It's you can. It's important to be recognized as the best wrestler at your weight class in your state. You can have you can go to excuse me. You can go to Powerade and have 60 of the best wrestlers in the country from wherever they're from in your weight class, and it's great. You won Powerade, or you won Eastern States, or you did whatever, and that is great. All those accomplishments are fantastic. But so there's something different about winning your state title, where it's this is my state, this is my weight class, that does put that kind of that stamp of approval, that huge check mark on your resume. It's no, I'm the best in my state. This is my state, and I totally get that. I think it's a fair assessment. He went to these 3 tournaments, Francis, and he took first, second, third at some of them, and they were all very, very nationally, powerhouse tournaments. Eastern States, he won, which is a big deal. Obviously, that one's in New York State, but it attracts a lot of outside attention. He took second at the Powerade tournament in Pennsylvania, which is a really, really big tournament. A lot of college coaches watch that. It's a very well-respected event. And then he was third at Beast of the East. So we had top 3 place finishes in 3 of the best tournaments in nationally in high school just this season alone, before even getting to the state tournament. So very experienced. What was your final record? 47-2?
Yeah.
Right? So almost 49 matches, just about 50 almost. So big season. How many matches do you think you've wrestled in the last 3 years alone?
400 or 500.
400 or 500, yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. All right, what do you got, Francis?
Was there any opponent in the state tournament that you knew well or wrestled before?
Yeah, I mean, there was guys I've wrestled before. There's nobody that I was worried about. The only thing I was worried about was myself. You know what I mean? Because I know I just had to be at my best to wrestle my best, and if I wrestled the best I could, then there's no way that anyone would beat me in that tournament.
Yep. Who else from Western New York had a good performance that you enjoyed watching?
Jordan Joslin.
Jordan Joslin, good choice.
That was.
What school is he from?
Chautauqua Lake.
Chautauqua Lake.
Yeah, he was like the 7 seed, and he tech-falled the 2 seed in the quarters. Mm-hmm. He got a win back that he lost last year against Trevor Court in the semis, and then in the finals he had like a 2-time defending state champ, Gianni Silvestri, and took him out in the finals, just out-wrestled them, and I never seen him wrestle like that. He was aggressive, and he was just finding ways to score that I've never seen him wrestle before. It looked like he was having a lot of fun wrestling, and I mean, yeah, it was fun to watch.
He was up 4-1 at the end of the first period on a 2-time defending champ. That's pretty. So that took him down, let him up, took him down again, held on. It was up 4-1 after 2 minutes on a 2-time defending champ. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
Even I agree with Cam. That's a good choice. I was like, whoa. And Jordan's very good, and I hope he's listening today because he got a lot of praise this year for that. And state tournament MOW as well for small schools.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, lest we forget. And he was the lowest seed in the tournament to win. He was a 7th seed. Guess where the second lowest seed in the tournament to win was from?
Section 6?
Southwestern High School, that's right, yeah. They're sleeping on Chautauqua Lake, man, or Chautauqua County.
Well, Cam, let me ask this, because I know you know the wrestlers up here in North Towns and Niagara County. How well do you know some of the guys from the Southern Tier?
Not as well. It almost feels like they're not from our section, because I don't see them anywhere, because I don't really go to tournaments in our section. And then they aren't in our, usually they're D2 small schools, so I don't really see them until the state tournament.
Do you like ever go up and talk to them? Hey, you know, I've seen your work.
No, yeah, I'm friends with them. Yeah. Like I feel like I've always, like, even guys like Jordan Joslin or I don't know, Martin Olson, like guys like that. I've known them since I was like younger, like because with the WRCL club and just like being around them and like in the youth circuit and everything. I mean, I know them all pretty well, to be honest.
Yeah, when like the youth circuit, Francis, these kids that wrestle from a really young age, like him and all these guys he's talking about, there's no school size, doesn't matter, doesn't differentiate. Everyone's just kind of mixed up in the same thing. It's only when you get to the high school level, or you wrestle modified and you wrestle with your league, right? All the leagues for modified are even different. Some leagues in modified in the state do like a half season where they do wrestling first half, basketball second half. Some of them do a full wrestling season. So you start to kind of go your separate ways. But yeah, I mean, there's no big schools other than Jamestown south of what? Frontier or Hamburg?
Yeah.
Whichever one's farther south. So the last one down there is Jamestown, and so not a ton of crossover. So we're very, like, obviously population north heavy rather than south heavy. It's just, I don't know. I might do like a thesis or something to break it all down because it's interesting to me. I'm a big geography nerd. I'm a big geography and history nerd on top of wrestling nerd. So mix it all up into one, and I'm just a gigantic nerd. Cool.
You know, man, I think you mentioned something. Will North gave Cam a nice welcome home.
Yep.
So Cam, what was it like? You were heading home from states. What was that welcome like?
Yeah, it was fun. Just being the first state champion in general, and the parade they threw the walk through the school, whatever. It was just cool to see that because we don't really see athletes get praise from our school. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure I was the first boy to win a state title in an individual sport, which, I mean, it's just pretty cool.
Yeah, it was nice. They have they have a nice space in their main gym where they have wrestling practice, and they have some really, really nice banners and names on it. So, Coach Muscarella, his dad, do a really nice job of keeping that updated and keeping the records up there on the wall. So now they have something really special to add to that with, here's our first state champion, he's our guy, especially with another year in school too, to obviously, when you get to be as good and your profile is as big as Cam's, that comes with obviously some leadership and some expectations in school as well. So I'm sure we'll see hopefully maybe a bump in more participation. I know that they're doing a really nice kids club right now. I'm in their Facebook group. I didn't go to Williamsville North or East, but I'm in their Facebook group anyway. I see what's going on, and they're really, really active with with Pee Wee stuff and taking it really seriously, and it's really nice to see. You know, it's something that I hope other schools can follow suit with. It's all about having the participation, man. You know, people to do it and people that are willing, and it's all important. Have a huge coaching staff, huge roster this year, so it's really nice to see. Oh, Williamsville North, first time class champions this year too, right? Won the AA title. Shout out Coach Muscarella and the gang. They won their first class AA title this year, so that was really cool too. And had a very, very, very close finish in the league this year as well. Couldn't have been any closer. So, really, really nice year overall for Williamsville North wrestling, I'd say, right?
Kim, when did you start wrestling?
I want to say either kindergarten or first grade, but like growing up, I would always quit wrestling. I hated wrestling so much. Like, I tried quitting even in while I was wrestling varsity in like 7th, 8th grade, and then like COVID happened, and once I was separated from wrestling without a choice, that's when I realized how much I really loved wrestling.
Yeah. Oh, so we need to, not to, I know we're running out of time a little bit, but we need to make sure we circle back to the state tournament and the celebration, the Heard Round the World. Did you see that?
No, I missed that.
He did a shoey and it was awesome. So he, after the final, he was so jacked up, he took his shoe off, drank some water out of it, and it was awesome. It was one of the best moments
How did it
in
taste?
state tournament history.
It was good.
Yeah. So I talked to him a few weeks ago. So what was the inspiration for that? Because I know we were talking about something. We'll get out here now. What was the inspiration for that? Where'd you learn that from?
I've seen it like Tai Tuivasa hit it in the UFC.
Okay.
And I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't think anyone else would ever top a celebration like that. And
I don't think so.
Yeah, and I knew you only win your first state title one time, so.
Yeah, it ruled. It was definitely a crowd pleaser, Francis. It was awesome. So dominating performance, legendary celebration. I mean, what more can you ask for?
You know, before we wrap up, I've been asking kids this question for the past few weeks. Let's say there's a kid out there, 7, 8 years old. Maybe they're living in Williamsville, and they want to be the next Cam Catcherbone. What is your advice to them right now?
I feel like you have to learn to. The thing about it's hard to say to a 7 or 8 year old because most of the pressure comes from like a parent, you know what I mean, and that's what makes a kid hate wrestling because parents like to think they know what they're talking about, and they like to think that because the majority of parents who are raising a wrestler to try to be good, that parent just wasn't very good. Which I mean, that's just from what I've seen at least. But I feel like if you want to become a good wrestler, you have to learn how to love wrestling and to love practice and to love getting better and to love the process, because once you learn to love wrestling, that's when it becomes 10 times easier, even if it's getting physically harder.
Yeah, good answer.
Matt, any final thoughts? I think we have another guest coming in soon.
Yeah, we do. No, I'm good, man. I've talked to Cam quite a bit this year and followed the season, and I'm glad he was able to achieve the state championship goal and use it as a platform to get ready for his final year in high school next year. And obviously he'll be, like I mentioned earlier, we graduate quite a few big school state place winners this year, so there'll be a lot of weight on Cam's shoulder to make sure to lead that group into Albany next year, to repeat as a state champion and keep our standing amongst the top, the top tier in New York State sections for big school wrestling, to hold on to it. So yeah, I think he knows what he's got to do and ready for a big off season, right? So what's next for you this off season?
I think I'm not gonna say this in here, but I think we'll I'll be going to Ultimate Club Duels at Penn State, and then a couple weeks after that, I'll probably be at the U20 Open in Las Vegas.
Awesome.
Are you taking a break just in terms of like getting away from the mat for a couple weeks?
I kind of have to. My body, my knees aren't just all swollen up, and yeah, I mean, just for like a little bit. It's hard to stop wrestling for a long time, and then.
When do you think you'll kind of get back into your groove?
Within a couple days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Couple days off. And how much do you wrestle during the off season? Like every day? Is it
the same. I don't really have an off season. It's just like after a big tournament, I'll take like even during the season, like after Powerade, I took a break before. Like I wasn't really training before Eastern States, and then I just kind of like after a big tournament is usually when I take a break because my body always gets beat up. Like at Super 32, for instance, I had like 11, 12 matches. Like I could barely open my eyes. They were like swollen. Like I had a swelling on the back of my head. It was like growing on the back. It was Yeah, it's a tough sport. So usually after big tournaments, I take time off, and I like to wrestle every day, just like the season.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right.
Cool.
All right, that will do it for our first segment of High School Sports Saturday. Coming up next, we're going to talk to, who are we going to talk to, Matt?
We talked to Cam Millender from Sweet Home.
All right, I know he's just around the corner, so we'll talk to him, and we have a few more guys coming in later, and we'll continue to wrap up this wrestling season. You're watching High School Sports Saturday on WNY Athletics.
Western New York Immediate Care's new locations are now open. Whether you've suffered a minor injury or just aren't feeling well, Western New York Immediate Care provides safe, quick, high-quality care at an affordable cost. Our clinicians are trained to diagnose and treat non-life-threatening injuries and illnesses and are equipped with on-site x-ray and labs to help you feel better, faster. With 4 convenient locations open 7 days a week, Western New York Immediate Care is here to help when and where you need us. Visit us online to learn more.
When it's time to sell your home, start with a visit to howardhanna.com, ranked the #1 real estate site for sellers. A few clicks will show you the sales price you can expect for your home. We can get you the most money in the quickest amount of time because we know where the local buyers are and how to reach them. So if it's time to sell your home, visit howardhanna.com today, and we'll match you with a local Howard Hanna agent to sell your home fast.
If you've been injured in an auto accident, large or small, call 681-4088. RES Physical Medicine and Rehab right away. If you are in pain or just sore, don't take chances. Call RES today and take advantage of their 24 to 48-hour appointment pledge. With no copays, RES will help navigate the confusing world of no-fault insurance with you, so you can concentrate on getting better. 681-4088. RES Physical Medicine and Rehab. The most important call you can make after an auto accident.
300 Level Media is a locally owned and operated multi-purpose media company right here in Western New York. You'll find us everywhere, covering the Bills, Sabres, Buttes, Bisons, Big Four basketball, local college sports, and much more. Our staff offers a variety of media services, from video production, live event coverage, audio broadcasts, professional voiceovers, camera operation, and videography. Visit www.300levelmedia.com or give us a call at 716-427-2600. This is 300 Level Media.
Do you insure a lot of businesses?
Yes, we do.
How about restaurants?
We got a bunch.
Do you cover property damage?
Yes, we do.
How about my equipment?
Covered.
How about sewer backup?
We got it.
What if my cook gets hurt?
They're covered.
Foodborne illnesses?
Covered.
What if my party tent goes down?
Covered under property damage.
And you say this is all under one policy?
One policy.
When do I pay?
Once a month.
Just one time?
Just one.
Is there anything you don't cover?
What's your record for consecutive questions asked?
31.
Tables. We don't do tables.
Gotta love Buffalo.
For all your insurance questions, call the Wolf at 835-WOLF.
Logistics Plus is a global transportation provider headquartered in Erie, PA, with locations worldwide, including right here in Western New York. Logistics Plus is consistently recognized as a fast-growing transportation and logistics company, great supply chain partner, top freight broker, leading project cargo manager, and a great place to work. With a strong passion for excellence, our 500-plus employees put the plus in logistics. Call our Buffalo office today for an efficient, personal approach for all of your transportation needs.
When it's time to sell your home, start with a visit to howardhanna.com, ranked the #1 real estate site for sellers. We can get you the most money in the quickest amount of time because we know where the local buyers are and how to reach them. Get started today at howardhanna.com.
Call 835-WOLF. Remember, you calling the Wolf. That's all you had to say. Call today.
Sometimes it just isn't your day. We all need a little help from time to time. That's why we're committed to providing safe, quick, and cost-effective care. And we keep it simple. Just walk in. We're here for you. Learn more today.
Welcome back to High School Sports Saturday. Francis back, now joined by Matt O'Rourke. We're trying to get Cam Millender in from Sweet Home. We're trying to see where he is.
He's right around the corner. We'll get him in here soon.
Yeah, he'll come in soon. But Matt, while you're here, why don't we talk a little bit more about the state tournament and what else your major takeaways from the season. Let me ask this question. I want you to let's go back in time a little bit to October, early November. if you would have told yourself back then this is what the results of the season would be, would you be surprised? Would you say this is about what I expected?
I'd say probably it's about what I expected, maybe leaning more towards surprised. We ended up having champions at all four of our major tournaments this year. Right, we had our first ever NISPA Girls Invitational. We had a champion. We had our dual meet state championship, team champion. CHSAA states, champions. Individual New York State Federation tournament, champions. Like everywhere we went, we had a champion, and it was really great to see. And I mean we as in Section 6 / Monsignor Martin. I know when we talked about team success, early on, Star Point was a favorite to win, and they did back in late January. I didn't know because we had our first ever girls invitational, NISPA Girls Invitational, I wasn't sure what to expect because it was our first one. But we had some really, really solid performances. We had 3 finalists and 1 champion in 7th grader from Niagara Wheatfield at 100 pounds, Gabriella Perone, who dominated her weight class. Very experienced wrestler, obviously through the NWAA. We talk about that all the time. It was a good benchmark for me to familiarize myself, with where we stand in terms of the young ladies around here who wrestle. Obviously, we're in very good standing, and I expect that to get better. We had 10 place winners. We had 33, I think, wrestlers at the Girls Invitational. I think we had 10 place winners, including a champion and 2 runners-up. So it was really great. Our CHSAA tournament, St. Joe's we had a couple of finalists. St. Francis, they split the CHSAA scoring by big schools and small schools. I guess they have a way they look at the enrollment of the member schools that wrestle, and they take the ones with the lower enrollments, they call them the small schools. St. Francis ended up winning the small school CHSAA individual tournament team title. St. Joe's ended up having 2 champions, both of whom went on to the Federation tournament and both placed 5th in their weight classes. That was huge. I think that's the first time that's happened for them. First time in Marauders program history, 2 place winners in the same year. And it's especially difficult given that the CHSAA only gets 1 qualifier. Only their champions go to the state federation tournament. They don't do wild cards. They don't get a wild card or power points or any of that. There was a very small window in the past few years where there was an opportunity for them to get a wild card, but that's gone now with the auto qualifier system. So if you want to wrestle at the state tournament, federation tournament, and you're from Catholic schools, you have to win the Catholic school title. So it was really great to see. And then, of course, we had 4 champions this year across the section, 4 New York State individual federation champions, 5 finalists, and we didn't have any champions last year, which was a historic moment in terms of somewhere you don't really want to be, because it was the first time since 1998 that the section hadn't had a champion. So it was obviously quite some time. So we stormed back with a vengeance this year. 4 individual champions, top 5 finishes for both of our teams. I mean, you really can't ask for too much more than that. There's obviously room for improvement, and I think everyone around here knows that, but I think everyone around here is back on level standing after COVID, being like, we can do this. Right now, there's already wrestlers out there getting ready for NHSCAs that are practicing 2, 3, 4 times a week still all over Western New York. They're out there. They're already out there wrestling. I know spring sports haven't started yet, but a lot of these wrestlers are going to be putting in a lot of time, maybe more so in the past, even if they do play a spring sport. I expect another great finish next year from everybody. I mean, the only way is up,
we kind of talked to Cam about this towards the end. How much of a break do you need both physically and mentally? How much time do you think most of those guys who placed or were in that state tournament are probably taking off from wrestling, just in terms physically and mentally?
Not a lot. It's not a lot. And we're caught up with that, I think. Our wrestlers are, and our coaches, I think they're very acutely aware that there isn't a lot of time to just kind of sit around. Wrestling for the elite wrestlers is mostly a year-round sport these days. I wrote in my season wrap-up last week that, from November 14th, the start of the official start date, to February 25th, which is Saturday night of the state tournament, is 103 days. 103 days is nothing. Some of these kids are wrestling over 200 days a year. It's for Cam. For Cam, 103 days of wrestling is that. I mean, he does 150% of that. 100 he'll do the 103 days of the season, but he's already doing 160 days outside of the season, for example. You know what I mean? Something along those lines, probably more. And he doesn't play football or baseball or anything, so he's just wrestling, man. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just tickled with the season. I thought we had an excellent season, top to bottom. We had a really great awards banquet last weekend. Obviously, the Western New York Wrestling Coaches Association does a fabulous job of putting together a really tremendous lineup of winners, of award winners for wrestlers and coaches and contributors as well. Luckily for me, I was asked to MC it, and I'm very, very grateful for that.
And that was Ilio DePaulo's, right?
Yeah.
They're a big wrestling family.
Big wrestling family, huge wrestling family. Shout out to Dennis and Ilio and everybody. Hell yeah. No, they, the DePaulo family is legendary amongst wrestling contributors and wrestling faithful people. They help promote the sport. They're generous with their time and their staff. They host the Western New York Wrestling Coaches Association banquet a week after the state tournament every year, and then host the Ilio DePaulo Awards, which is in May, which is a whole another round of awards for wrestlers and such. So I'll be at that too. That's on May 23rd at Ilio DePaulo's restaurant. The Dennis and Ilio and the gang are second to none in terms of support for wrestling and promoting it and giving, it's kind of like a safe home to go to. You'll see their advertisements when I was at the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, the upstate one in September. They put in a nice ad, had my name on it. It was really great to see. So, the best. And also, they've done a ton of work down there. So if you haven't seen their new Buffalo Room and their new bar in the banquet area, it's fantastic. Definitely get down there for dinner. I will definitely be back soon. It's just a fabulous spot. So,
you kind of touched on it a little bit. Unlike most sports, it seems like the public schools have a little more success in wrestling than the Catholic schools. Is that just because of the way the state qualifiers work? Is it, because usually in football you're like, yeah, you might say this year St. Francis Bennett, we're kind of on the same level. Most years it's like the Catholic school teams are overall better than most of the public schools. But it seems like it's a little different in wrestling. Why do you think that is?
I don't know, because that's a good question. I don't know if wrestling isn't as big of a draw to go and to show up at a private school to do that as it is for football or something. I'm not really totally sure. I can tell you, though, that the Catholic schools overall in the last couple of years have been gaining a lot of territory on some of their public school counterparts, especially downstate New York, especially in like the Long Island schools, amongst the Long Island schools and amongst the Hudson Valley schools especially. They've been gaining a lot of power. Iona Prep is, we're familiar with them through a number of sports. I think they were second in the state federation tournament this year. They had like 5 or 6 place winners, I think. They were a big part. So,
actually, let me ask this question first. When and where is the state federation tournament? Because it's different from the one that happened last weekend, right?
No, the federation. I call it the federation tournament because it includes the CHSAA.
So last week's tournament did include all those.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the federation. The state tournament would just be the sections, the 11 sections. Or like the CHSAA tournament, Catholic High School Athletic Association. That's a state tournament for the Catholic high school group, right? The federation tournament loops them all together. So the federation tournament's the 11 sections, the Public School Athletic League representatives, which there's a big school and small school contingent for them, CHSAA, which they only wrestle in the big school side, and then the AIS schools. It's the independent. I forget the independent league. So they All 3 of those leagues only get their champions into the federation tournament, and they score and they're part of it and stuff. They're not technically part of NISFA, but I don't know where you can look it up in the.
No, because it's interesting. Because I know for basketball, for example, they have the state tournament, which is just NISFA, which is the state. Those will be next weekend, and then usually the weekend after they would have a federation tournament and include the champions from those other leagues in there. So that's why I was a little bit confused because it's clearly wrestling puts them all together, where the state, where for like other sports they would have the NISFA would have their own and then do a separate federation one.
Yeah. I mean, you can. We can't. I guess we could do our own state tournament with just the sections and then do a federation one, but the expense with that would just be enormous. I mean, it
would be kind of almost like a little bit of a repeat too, I'm assuming.
It would be kind of, yeah. The expense with that would be enormous. Try getting that passed through the central committee of NISFA and the whole gang that's in town this weekend, and they'd probably be like, yeah, it's a great idea, but maybe not. I'm perfectly happy. I don't know anybody who isn't happy with the way it's done now. We have 2 divisions. We place the top 8 in each division. The whole production at the state tournament is second to none. It is by far the best state tournament that NISFA puts on in terms of like the pageantry, the environment. I mean, it feels like a college wrestling championship. It's it's at the MVP arena, which it's not as big as obviously our arena is KeyBank Center, but it's still a good-sized AHL arena. The pageantry and stuff is second to none. I mean, it's a fabulous state tournament. I mean, I come out of there just glowing every time I'm there. So,
man, I see your next guest just walked in. So, anything else you want to say before we take a break and bring him in?
Nope, not right now. We can get to Cam, and we can wrap up the show later on with the awards and some of the other notes like that. But yeah, let's get to our next guest.
All right, Cam Millender's coming up next. You're watching High School Sports Saturday on WNY Athletics.
Western New York Immediate Care's new locations are now open. Whether you've suffered a minor injury or just aren't feeling well, Western New York Immediate Care provides safe, quick, high-quality care at an affordable cost. Our clinicians are trained to diagnose and treat non-life-threatening injuries and illnesses and are equipped with on-site x-ray and labs to help you feel better, faster. With 4 convenient locations open 7 days a week, Western New York Immediate Care is here to help when and where you need us. Visit us online to learn more.
Logistics Plus is a global transportation provider headquartered in Erie, PA, with locations worldwide, including right here in Western New York. Logistics Plus is consistently recognized as a fast-growing transportation and logistics company, great supply chain partner, top freight broker, leading project cargo manager, and a great place to work. With a strong passion for excellence, our 500-plus employees put the plus in logistics. Call our Buffalo office today for an efficient, personal approach for all of your transportation needs.
When you're ready to buy a home, start your search at howardhanna.com. You'll be the first to see new listings, find similar properties, and connect with a local Howard Hanna agent. Get started today at howardhanna.com.
Yep.
All right, welcome back. High School Sports Saturday. We're wrapping up the wrestling season. And we have with us now Matt O'Rourke and Cam Millender from Sweet Home. And Matt, why don't you introduce us a little bit to Cam?
Yeah, all right. So Cam is a senior. He is a 2-time section finalist. Went to states last year as an auto qualifier. Went back this year as taking second in the section, and ended up winning or becoming Sweet Home's first state place winner in 24 years, if you can believe that. There was quite some time through the 80s and 90s with Coach Shiflett, where placing someone at states was an annual or biannual event. It's been quite some time. We've come close a couple of times, right? Coach Stella was close. We had Dom Kraus there a few years ago. I say we because I helped coach there for a little bit, but yeah, Cam pulled through this year and got his name up on the board as the first one from Sweet Home in almost 25 years, if you can believe that. So that's a huge accomplishment. Let's talk to Cam about his season. I know about his season. I want to hear from Cam about it, though. So Cam, you're a senior. What else? What other sports do you play at Sweet Home? Football, right?
Yeah, I also do football.
Football. What else?
That's it.
That's it?
Yeah,
okay.
During the spring, I take my break.
Okay. And then did you wrestled modified or no?
I only wrestled modified for a year.
Okay, who's your coach?
Mislin.
Coach Miz? All right, cool. All right, no Coach Miz. All right, so then you go up to varsity, and then did you have Patchy Mix? Was he around when you were first started?
He was around when I first started, like my 8th grade year.
What was it like wrestling for Patchy Mix?
I mean, honestly, he's like a normal guy. Like, you would never think, like, he's this big MMA guy or any of that. He just seems like a cool, normal coach. And then next thing you know, he's going off to fight, and then he's winning, and he goes off. I'm like, wow, I'm just glad to even know him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's a piece of work, isn't he?
Yeah, he's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's my guy. Well, you know who we're talking about, right, Francis? So Patchy Mix is a 2011, I think, graduate from Lakeshore.
Yeah, I remember.
Patrick Patchy, No Love, War Ready Mix. You might know him by his nicknames, but for a while he was an assistant coach at Sweet Home. Their head coach at Sweet Home is Don Lilly. He's big into the fight game, so he obviously knows all the fighters and former wrestlers and stuff. So Pat was the assistant coach for a couple of years. He'd come around, get himself to practice. I think what he'd do, when he was coming up through the ranks, like he did it like a down home, like blue collar, did construction, rented a car, got himself to practice. Like he was all in for the kids.
Wow.
Yeah, he was for real.
Yeah, you could definitely feel that. He definitely cared. Like, even the way he'd react when you do something stupid, it seems angry, but it just comes from caring so much. You know what I mean?
So now he's an international superstar fighting for $1 million grand prize in Hawaii.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Coming up soon. He's on one of the top bantamweights in the world.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about.
So yeah, and he was right here every day helping out at Sweet Home High School, helping out Cam. So, yeah.
Kim, why don't we, before we get to the state tournament, why don't we start with this sectional final? You came in as one of the top seeds, but lost in the final. That was probably one of the most thrilling matches of the sectional final. What do you remember from that match? And then talk about how you had to, you had to come in a little bit as assuming a lower place he got because he didn't win the championship or lower seed. And then, am I wrong on that?
I think maybe
it wasn't as affected as I thought it was going to be.
Okay. Yes, agreed.
All right, well, let's start with that sectional final. Obviously, went to overtime.
Yep.
What did you learn from that experience?
Every time I lose, I think I get like 10 times better. Like that's one of my main attributes. So, of course, I was very upset after the loss, but me and Coach, especially Coach Stella, we're able to look back at the match, really look at what I did wrong. So from there, like at States, I really changed up my whole style. I was using a lot more hands, a lot more forward pressure, stuff like that. In the sectional finals match, I was kind of waiting for him, just keeping on my back foot almost, seeing what he's going to do. That allowed him to stay in the match. You know what I mean? Keep it close, and then we go to overtime. He does something funky, which I'm not too good with. I'm more of a strength type of dude. I can admit that. But he does something like weird, and then he gets behind me, match over. Then that's all it is. And then after that, I took like 5 days off.
Yeah.
And I really needed it. Came back with Coach. We wrestled hard for a few days, and then got to States.
Walk me through States. What were your matches like? Were any of them harder than you expected?
So at States, me and Coach were wrestling really hard, and my mindset was really put together. Like I really had the dog mentality in me. My first match, I had a bye first round. I was the 5 seed.
Mm-hmm.
I wrestled the 12 seed, but the 12 seed shouldn't have actually been the 12 seed because he was wrestling like the 4, I think, and only lost 3-2. Like he's up there with all those guys. You know what I mean? And he was really good because he ended up beating the 4th seed like 8-3. You know what I mean? So I had him first, and I lost by a takedown in like the last few seconds or something. But Coach was still really happy because the kid was really good, and the kid who I was wrestling had a lot of forward pressure. But when I wrestled him, he was on his back foot. So I messed up his whole game plan. I just didn't get it done. So I knew there was more wrestling to be had. So then I wrestled a kid from Section 11. He's like a taller, linkier kid. And I just kept my same mentality, kept my same pressure, and then got that one done. And then we knew the next day we had same kid I lost to in sectionals in the blood rounds.
Yep. So we were talking about the blood round earlier. He starts off on Saturday morning with his rival from North Tonawanda, who we just saw so the pressure, right, of going overnight, of saying, not only do I have to worry about making weight tomorrow, I have to worry about my very first match, first thing in the morning, 9:30 in the morning, 10 o'clock, whatever, being the difference maker of if I'm going to place in the state or not. And on top of it, it's my local rival here from right across the boulevard. Now you know why it's called the Blood Round, right?
Yeah.
Were you able to sleep that night?
Yeah, I slept good.
Slept good.
Yeah, I was pretty I wanted to wrestle him that day because I was like, I don't want to sleep on it.
Sure.
Wait till tomorrow and stuff.
Yep.
But I was able to sleep, and then I was really, I was just using the loss as fuel. I'm like, man, I've gotten so much better since then.
Yep.
And then he looked a little nervous. I won't lie, because when you win, the pressure's on you now.
Right.
Because you got the last win, and now it's at States, so he knows that I'm coming for him. And the match is the way he wrestles, he's gonna keep it close. But I'll say the main things I improved on was my hand fighting, my pressure, and my takedown defense as well. Because anytime he shot, I was really stuffing him. He would only catch me through a weird scramble or something. But yeah, the whole match, I was just go, go, go. I didn't stop. I didn't stop reaching. I didn't stop attacking legs, hand fighting. Because somebody like him, he's a dog. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
So you just got to keep going. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I did, and then got it out 6-5, squeezed out the win.
How important was wrestling at States last year to prepare you to get ready for that very critical Blood Round on Saturday morning this year?
I think going to States was important because I didn't have to take the time to really process everything. But I think most of my experience in those close matches just came from the season.
Okay.
Because when I'd actually get a good match or something, even against Caldwell, all of our matches were super close.
Sure.
And I wouldn't get them. I think it just leads to me. My mat IQ has also improved because, I only started wrestling when I was 12.
Sure.
Most guys have been doing it for longer. So usually what I have to make up for that lack of experience is my strength. But also I'll start to get more mat experience, more mat IQ as I go on. What these guys would have gotten years earlier, I'm starting to get them now, but it only helps. You know what I mean?
Well, I imagine last year, getting the state tournament was a huge accomplishment, obviously. But I think probably the tone or the game plan for this year changes if you're Coach Lilly in strategizing to get you not only back to the state tournament, but to get you on the podium. So you may change up who you wrestle when it comes down to it in a dual meet, or what weight you go for a weekend tournament or something to make sure you try to get those matchups or those head-to-heads that you need, so that we're not just worried about making it to the state tournament. It's no, now we're trying to place at it, right?
Exactly.
That strategy changes up. That's why I think it's so important that you go once, even if you don't place once, but
just to
going once, getting yourself familiar with how every match is going to be a dogfight. The lights, the environment. I was just telling him before he walked in here, it's the best tournament that state puts on. The pageantry, all that stuff. The environment is second to none in terms of high school sports. And if you're there for the first time, it's easy to be whoa, what's going on here? Blindsided by that. So that's why I think it was super critical making it last year. Huge.
Yeah. And then the first time going, you can kind of be well, I'm just happy to be here. You know what I mean? I made it to States, but you going again, you nah, I came here to do something this
time. You go for a second time, you're a senior, it's no, I'm placing. I'm not messing around. Yeah, you I forgot you did wrestle Lazaric from Hilton in that quarterfinal, and he was the 12 seed. He ended up taking fourth in the tournament in the weight class. So he was seeded a little bit lower probably than he should have been. He ended up wrestling the top seed to a 3-2 decision in the semifinals.
I know.
So you had a really tough first round match.
Yeah.
All the other matches were fairly similar seeded, whatever, but that one kind of caught me off guard. And then when he ended up taking third, I'm oh, okay,
yeah, I could tell
legit.
after he wrestled me, I'm he's gonna do good in the tournament.
Yeah. So then you wrestle, we beat Section 11, we beat North Tonawanda, we fall to Foster from VVS, and then we end up landing in the 7th place match. When you beat Dylan from North Tonawanda in that blood round, and you knew you were guaranteed to place. You knew, yes, you have a couple more matches to go. Whether or not you make it to the 3rd, 5th, or 7th place match doesn't matter. You're guaranteed to place. What did you think immediately after that match was over with?
I was just ecstatic.
Yeah.
I was just thinking how bad I didn't want to lose, and I was finally, because all the close matches, I'm dude, I always lose the close ones, coach, and then I finally get one, and then it just felt good sending them home, because I was still sour about the sectional match.
Sure.
And then, I got that, and then coach is oh, that's your 100th win. So I'm what? I didn't even know. I thought it was 43 to get 100. So then that was a shock to me too. So I was just really happy from there on, and I was like, in the beginning of the year, we made goals. My goal was to place at the state tournament, so goal accomplished.
Yeah, that was a great match, too. You were leading by a point, and then you were leading by a point, you hold on to win, and then in excitement, what'd you do?
I
Spike?
took off my headgear, spiked it to the mat,
Right.
and the ref hits me with the point.
Right, but it's a match point.
Yeah.
A team point.
Yeah.
Because the match was already over with, thank goodness.
Oh, yeah.
So then we were making fun of Coach Lilly, like, man, your guy throws his headgear and he wins. He throws it and he loses. What's going on here? I got to tape that thing, Joe. No, it was okay. It was one of those moments of excitement you see at the state tournament, and you can't take it out. I'm not trying to beat you up or anything at all.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, I probably would have done the same thing.
I was so
exciting.
nervous. I thought he gave, like, the other guy a point. We were going to have to keep wrestling. I was like,
no, if the match wasn't over with, if it was like the second period, or like there was 10 seconds left or something, then you would have been in some trouble for sure. But either way, you hold on to win, and then I got them all in trouble because I made him stay and take a picture, and the referee's yelling at him to get off the mat for the next match. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. This is important, okay? I'm taking a picture real quick. He was like, get off the mat. And I'm just like, no. Like, take pictures. I'm like, no, we'll give us a second, all right?
Yeah, those refs weren't playing.
Yeah. I was like, it's been 24 years. All right, chill out.
Yeah, exactly. Let me have this.
All right, cool. So you get talking about some of your coaches. I know at what point in your career did Coach Stella step in? Because I know he's a legendary Sweet Home alumnus. Coach Andrew Stella was a sectional champion, one of the all-time winningest wrestlers in the program. What point in your career did he step in and start coaching, helping coach?
So it was like after Coach Mix left, we needed somebody else, and about my 9th grade year,
all right,
I believe he stepped in. My 9th grade year, he coached me, but not really as personal as it got.
Okay.
I'll say about sophomore year, even though it was COVID.
Yeah.
That's when he like sat me down and he was like, dude, you could do a lot.
Mhm.
And, of course I wasn't believing him. I'm like, dude, I thought I was just decent.
Sure.
I didn't know I had the potential that he saw.
Yep.
And he's just good at, like, he'll look at you as a wrestler. He'll learn your strengths and weaknesses. So that's why I like him, because he can coach you specifically.
Yep.
Moves that'll help you. And I've always learned moves really quickly, which I also think helps, because he could show me a move and I'll use it in the next match. You know what I mean? So I'm able to add to my arsenal very quickly. And then from sophomore year, then junior year came, and I definitely wasn't expecting to go anywhere close to states junior year. You know what I mean? And then he's coaching me up. He's giving me advice. He's like, do this, do that, and it's working. I keep winning, and then next thing you know, I make it to states. I'm like, whoa, this thing is serious. And the main factor this year was how much I wrestled in the off season.
Yeah.
Between junior year and this year, I probably had like a whole other season of experience just in the summer.
That's what you got to do, man. That's how you get it done. You know that.
Yep. And him and Coach Lilly, they organized all of that. He was there the whole while.
Yep.
It's just, and I think coaching also works better if you actually have like a good relationship with your coach.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean?
You got to be receptive, right? You got to trust that they're trying to keep your best interest in their mind, and you got to trust that they're, and vice versa. So, you got to give them an honest effort, and you got to trust, and you got to trust that they're thinking about you and setting you up for success.
Exactly.
I mean, you end up this year with a 42-9 record. You wrestled 51 matches.
Yeah.
Tied 100-match winner. Ties what'd you tie season, or tie the career single season record? I think it's a 3-way tie now, right?
Yeah.
2 or 3-way tie. But yeah, overall another fantastic season. Go out on top, a state place winner. I mean, what's your plans for the rest of the school year and into next year? What are you doing next?
The rest of the school year, I'm gonna just chill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a long season.
Yeah.
Very long season. As far as colleges go, I'm kind of just waiting right now, seeing my options, and then, I might go on a few visits, just see what I want to do, and then just go from there, talk to coach about it, get some advice.
Are you looking to wrestle at the next level?
Yeah, I mean, why not? You might as well try it out.
Yeah.
If it's not for me, you could always just leave, but
For sure.
I think I'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I think you would too, especially because you started so late.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of times, I see it. A lot of times, I see some wrestlers who start late, like you did, who end up having some good success at, towards the end of their high school career, succeed even more so in college, because it's like you discover a whole new thing that you never did when you were real little, or where you were single digit age type of thing. There's probably a whole ton of stuff out there that you can experience that even if you wrestle for a D3 or something like that. I know there's a lot of great D3s around here.
Yeah.
Even if you did something like that, I'm just saying, not saying that's your potential, but
Well,
even
you
if
could always just transfer out.
Yeah, of course, right.
If you do really good at D3, you can just
Exactly.
transfer out.
Right, you can get an experience. My point is, you can get an experience at any level of college wrestling that I think you specifically would find really enjoyable. So just gotta go out there and find it, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kim, my question is, let's say there's a 5th, 6th grader at Sweet Home wants to be the next Cam Millender. What's your advice to him right now?
You just got to stick it out, because at first you're going to suck. You know, that's just the brutal truth. You're going to be really bad. I was horrible my 9th and sophomore year. I didn't have a winning record until my junior year, where I made it to states.
Yep.
So I'm like, when you're down, you're losing, you're like, I'm not getting any better. You got to really stick it out, because you'll start to turn the curve. You know what I mean? And then once that comes, then stuff gets fun.
Yep.
You know what I
When
mean?
did you kind of see that turn for you? When did you said sophomore year at a losing record, and all of a sudden you're in state. So was there like a moment you're like, oh, now I'm really good at this?
Well, I was always getting better, and sophomore year was really short because of COVID. But I'll say probably at ECIC's junior year, because I remember after the first day, I was talking to coach, and I'm like, dude, I was just really down. I'm like, I knew I was a good wrestler, but I was like, I can't beat the really good guys. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying. And he gave me a sit down. He's like, you got to push through it and stuff. And then the next day, I beat a guy who was ranked like 3rd in the area. So after that, that kind of got my gears turning. So then I really bunkered down and then locked in. Just kept going from there.
And anything else?
No, I'm good. I think we got it. I'm glad you were able to come in. I'm sorry for the snafu on the address. I know this is. I should have been better about that. This is your home. This is Cam's district.
Yeah.
Right
Now
here.
he's like, oh, this is just around the corner from school.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like super close.
Yeah. But yeah, we appreciate you coming in, and
Yeah,
congratulations on a great season and
Appreciate that.
and putting Sweet Home back on the map, Sweet Home Wrestling back on the map. So,
Sure.
All right.
Matt, who do we have coming in next?
Next, we're going to talk to a couple wrestlers from Hamburg and Eden about their state tournaments, and then that'll be it for our guests, and then we'll wrap up the rest of the show with final thoughts on the season and going into next year. So, all right.
All right, you're watching High School Sports Saturday on WNY Athletics.
Awesome.
Western New York Immediate Care's new locations are now open. Whether you've suffered a minor injury or just aren't feeling well, Western New York Immediate Care provides safe, quick, high-quality care at an affordable cost. Our clinicians are trained to diagnose and treat non-life-threatening injuries and illnesses, and are equipped with on-site x-ray and labs to help you feel better, faster. With 4 convenient locations open 7 days a week, Western New York Immediate Care is here to help when and where you need us. Visit us online to learn more.
When it's time to sell your home, start with a visit to howardhanna.com, ranked the #1 real estate site for sellers. A few clicks will show you the sales price you can expect for your home. We can get you the most money in the quickest amount of time because we know where the local buyers are and how to reach them. So if it's time to sell your home, visit howardhanna.com today, and we'll match you with a local Howard Hanna agent to sell your home fast.
If you've been injured in an auto accident, large or small, call 681-4088. RES Physical Medicine and Rehab right away. If you are in pain or just sore, don't take chances. Call RES today and take advantage of their 24 to 48-hour appointment pledge. With no copays, RES will help navigate the confusing world of no-fault insurance with you, so you can concentrate on getting better. 681-4088. RES Physical Medicine and Rehab. The most important call you can make after an auto accident.
300 Level Media is a locally owned and operated multi-purpose media company right here in Western New York. You'll find us everywhere covering the Bills, Sabres, Buttes, Bisons, Big Four basketball, local college sports, and much more. Our staff offers a variety of media services, from video production, live event coverage, audio broadcasts, professional voiceovers, camera operation, and videography. Visit www.300levelmedia.com or give us a call at 716-427-2600. This is 300 Level Media.
Do you insure a lot of businesses?
Yes, we do.
How about restaurants?
We got a bunch.
Do you cover property damage?
Yes, we do.
How about my equipment?
Covered.
How about sewer backup?
We got it.
What if my cook gets hurt?
They're covered.
Foodborne illnesses?
Covered.
What if my party tent goes down?
Covered under property damage.
And you say this is all under one policy?
One policy.
When do I pay?
Once a month.
Just one time?
Just one.
Is there anything you don't cover?
What's your record for consecutive questions asked?
31.
Tables. We don't do tables.
Gotta love Buffalo.
For all your insurance questions, call the Wolf at 835-WOLF.
Logistics Plus is a global transportation provider headquartered in Erie, PA with locations worldwide, including right here in Western New York. Logistics Plus is consistently recognized as a fast-growing transportation and logistics company, great supply chain partner, top freight broker, leading project cargo manager, and a great place to work. With a strong passion for excellence, our 500-plus employees put the plus in logistics. Call our Buffalo office today for an efficient, personal approach for all of your transportation needs.
When it's time to sell your home, start with a visit to howardhanna.com. Ranked the #1 real estate site for sellers. We can get you the most money in the quickest amount of time because we know where the local buyers are and how to reach them. Get started today at howardhanna.com.
Call 835-WOLF. Remember, you calling the Wolf. That's all you had to say. Call today.
Sometimes it just isn't your day. We all need a little help from time to time. That's why we're committed to providing safe, quick, and cost-effective care. And we keep it simple. Just walk in. We're here for you. Learn more today.
Welcome back. High School Sports Saturday, joined by Matt O'Rourke and a couple of wrestlers from Hamburg, Eden. So, Matt, why don't you introduce us, our new guest?
Okay, on the far end for me is Kenny Schmitz. He's a senior from Hamburg. In the middle is Trevor Del Pente, you're a ninth grader, right? Yeah. At Eden. And then next to me is Luke Smeater. He's a senior at Hamburg. All three of these guys are state place winners this year. In the Division I tournament, we had the combined Hamburg-Eden team this year, which we knew was a very good team, coached by Kenny Schmitz and Tom Page, and the whole mishmash of Lake Erie Wrestling Extension. And they had an excellent dual season together, and very, very accomplished individuals this year as well. We had 4 wrestlers from your team at the state tournament, 2 from Hamburg, 2 from Eden. So Trevor and his cousin, Bryce, right? Bryce's second time at this tournament, Kenny's second time in this tournament, and then you both were here for the first time in Albany, right? Yeah. Yep. So all of them placed. Kenny was 8th in the state, Trevor 8th in the state, and Luke was 5th in the state at 172 pounds. So had a really active weekend for Hamburg and Eden wrestlers, and a lot of alumni showed up too, or a lot of supporters, a ton of each. I know Eden wrestlers, or Eden always travels well to the state tournament. Have a long, obviously, line, especially in the last decade or so, of a lot of place winners. Hamburg, these two, there's only ever been 2 Hamburg place winners before this year in the state tournament, and they doubled it up this year with Kenny and Luke. And I apologize, I'm going to kind of separate it just because I kind of think about it where they go to school. Obviously, they're on the same team this year, but I kind of think about it and like breaking it down where I look at the numbers and I see like, oh, well, that's a neat little fact that like there's only ever been 2 Hamburg place winners before this year, and now we have 2 more of them. Like, that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? So he takes 5th, Luke takes 5th. His brother Jake was a 5th place winner in 2016, maybe?
Yeah.
Yep.
No, 2017.
2017. He's one of those 2 past place winners. So they made a lot of history this year. These guys did. So, yeah.
Walk me through. I don't know who wants to go first. Walk me through your trip to states. Who's made there for the first time?
Trevor and Luke.
Okay, so you're going there the first time. What was it like? What was the atmosphere like? You know, Matt was talking about earlier, there's a lot of, pageantry for this tournament, maybe more than other tournaments that the state runs. What was that like?
Oh, it was really cool, actually. I kind of expected, like, it was going to be real packed and crowded and just a huge atmosphere, but when we got there the first night for warm-ups, it was just like all the wrestlers were in there practicing, and it's pretty cool just getting to take a look at that and gonna take it in.
Yeah, it was kind of cool to just be down there. Like, when you're just on the mat wrestling, you see all the fans in the crowd. It was cool to be there.
And you watched your brother there last year, right, Bryce? Or no, your cousin, sorry.
Yeah.
You watched your cousin there last year, right?
Yeah.
So what did you think about last year going in this year? I know you ended the season a little bit banged up last year, else you might have been in the mix probably in small schools. What did you think about last year, watching it to this year, saying, were you like on a mission, like I want to get there, I want to wrestle there next year?
The goal was to get there and place.
Yep. Great. Yeah. All right, Kenny. And then it was Kenny's your second time there. Yeah. I know you missed placing last year, a little bit disappointed by that. You get to the blood round this year and you win a really close one, right, on Saturday morning.
Overtime.
Overtime, exactly. Walk me through that overtime match on that blood round.
So going into that match, I saw that he wrestled Caden Barrientos from Star Point.
Yep.
At Eastern States, and I saw he majored in maybe at Easterns.
Okay.
So, like, I was just thinking about it the whole night before, just, like, gotta wrestle safe, like, try not to tie up, just get my takedowns and, like, ride them out and just wrestle smart. So I did that for the first 2 periods. I feel like I wrestled really well. Just I didn't want to get in those underhooks because I know he likes that. So I tried to stay out of them. And 3rd period came, I was just tired and put me right to my back, got 4, and I got an escape like right after, so tied up 4-4.
So you were up 3-0 in the 3rd period? Oh, man.
I think I got escape and a takedown in the 2nd. 3rd period, he put me feet to back, got 4 out of it. I got an escape, and then I think there's 11 seconds on the clock.
Yep.
And kind of just like stalled it out from there.
Sure.
Let it go into overtime, didn't want to force anything. Overtime, and then I couldn't get out of those underhooks. I took a bad shot and then just right into a reshot and got a dump right on the out of bounds. So, and I guess that's it.
Yeah.
But it felt really good.
Yeah. The rest is history, right? We just had Cam Millender in here, and he had the same kind of experience winning that blood round match by like a point, you know, very, very close match. You know, when you knew you got that takedown, you knew that you were guaranteed, guaranteed to place. What kind of were you thinking about? Because I know I was there watching. I was right near there. You're very, very excited. So what were you thinking about? Like, you knew that you're guaranteed to hit the podium.
Yeah, like I didn't think he was going to award me that too. So when I saw that, like, super surprised, and I guess like everything just like all the adrenaline just came at once. And super excited because that's the goal the whole year, get on the podium. Like,
sure.
Like I know I want to get 6th or higher, but like just knowing I'm on the podium and that I'm safe, it kind of like helped me relax for the rest of the tournament. Feel nerves weren't as crazy.
Awesome. I know Luke had a crazy wrestleback experience. I think you had 2 come from behind pins. You were losing, I think, in 2 matches in the wrestlebacks, and you pinned in both of them. So what were you? I mean, that was a pretty legendary performance that kind of gets like tucked away when you think about like, oh, we have all these champions, we have all these finalists. But if you actually go through the brackets and actually go into track wrestling and like look at the actual matches like I did after the tournament, I was like, because I I'm trying to watch 58 wrestlers. I can't watch exactly every single second, unfortunately, of everybody. But I went back through his matches, and I'm like, oh my God, in these 3 matches, he was losing in 2 of them and ended up pinning the dude. Like, what would you do? Like, that was crazy. Like, that was just that was like just a legendary performance that won't get talked about enough, but should get talked about.
Yeah, well, so that first match, that blood round against the match before the blood rounds, against the Section 5 kid, I remember I got right in on a super deep single, and then I ended up in like a seatbelt position. It was just a weird position. He ended up taking me down from it, and then he got some tight bars in, and usually I'm pretty flexible. I can like limp out of that, but I didn't. And then he got a 2 count, and I rolled him right to his back, right from my back. So I tied it up 4-4, and then after that, I just remember thinking after that was the end of the first period. I just remember thinking like this kid doesn't deserve to have those points on me. So after that, I kind of just packed him up, and then the next match. The blood round the next match was my blood round. That was a close match.
Yep.
I only beat him 4-1, but that was awesome. I just kept it tight, and then I remember looking at the clock. It was like 30 seconds here on that podium.
Yep.
And then I got there, and it was just awesome. And then the next match after that, I faced the Section 8 kid who beat me at Eastern States, and so I was thinking about that. Like I was thinking about that weeks coming up to States. Like that was the match I wanted back.
Yeah.
And
5 versus 4 seed. Yeah. 5 versus 4 seed. Wanta, obviously. You know, anytime you see somebody from Wanta, and you said you already wrestle them, but anytime you see somebody from Wanta, you gotta take that seriously. You know, that's no joke. And then what happened in that one?
So I remember I shot a bad shot in, and then he got 2 out of that, and then going into the second, we got into funky scramble, and I just I don't remember what I pinned him with, but I kind of just I just got him on his back and stuck him there. But then that was awesome.
Yeah,
that match back.
Yeah, I just every time I looked up Francis, it was just like one after another. He goes and wins three in a row in the wrestlebacks, loses only to the kid I think who ended up taking 4th, and then wins his 5th place match. So he was 4 for 5 in the wrestlebacks. with 3 straight wins to start off with. Is that, like I said, those are those legendary performances where it's like, you see he ends up taking 5th, but if you actually look at it, it's like that's like he got that dog in him. All right, that's what it is. Let's call it what it is. He got that dog in him type of round. All right, performance. All right, cool. All right, Trevor, let's walk through your state tournament real quick. I know you took 2nd in the section, and you end up taking 8th place in New York State. Very valuable state place finish. Obviously, as only a freshman. How'd you start off that tournament? What were some of your matches that were kind of a turning point in your event? Because I think you didn't. Let's see. You fell to the 1 seed.
Yeah.
So you actually fell to the 1 seed, who ended up winning the tournament, and that was that kid's closest match of the entire tournament.
Yeah.
He fell 6-3 to Murley from Newburgh. Murley went on to have a major decision, a 7-0 win, and then won in the finals 8-4. He beat Trevor 6-3. He gave him his closest match of the entire tournament as a 16 seed as well. And I think on top of it, now that I remember correctly, I think you were the 5th. There's in track wrestling, if you look at the data for the state tournament, it'll spit out all these statistics. I think you were the 5th highest difference from place finish to seed in the entire tournament.
Yeah.
16 seed to 8th place finish is obviously 8 spots. I think there was a couple that were like right around there, like 9 places or 10 places or whatever, but he was one of the top ones in the entire event. So, I mean, that's a legendary performance right there in and of itself. So you go and you wrestle Murley, you fall in that the pre-quarterfinal round, and then you got to go right to the wrestlebacks and just battle in the wrestlebacks. So how did you, walk me through your wrestlebacks?
We always meet, like, my coaches and everything. We always, like, preach, like, battling back, like, staying mentally tough. So right after that loss, I knew I was going to have to battle back, win my next couple matches.
Yep.
And the first one, I remember I just, like, win this match, and then, like, focus on this one before we get to the next one. So I ended up winning that match. And then next one, I ended up having Colin Edwards from Frontier, so kind of like a rematch of the sectional finals. And me and Colin, we've been training partners for years, so it was obviously going to be a close one, goes back and forth. And I ended up winning that one 3-2. Then the next day was the blood round, and I was facing the kid who beat the 4 seed. And then I ended up beating him 13-4. It was close going into the second period, and then I kind of blew it out of the water with the cradle defense that we've worked on over the years. Won a couple big matches with that before. And then after that, I fell to the Vincent Graylu from
The 8 seed, from Mahonison,
Yeah, he was tough. And then I lost my 7th and 8th match, which was another tough one.
Well, it's rare to see someone fall in the pre-quarterfinal and then go on and win 3 straight consolation matches. Usually somewhere in there you find a loss, especially like, with Collins where he was. Usually in that spot, sometimes can be the end of the tournament if you are a pre-quarterfinal loser. But, I mean, you just kicked it into gear, man. I mean, you end up having a 6-0 win. You end up beating Colin, obviously, like you said. You guys train a lot together, very familiar with one another in a very close match. And then you go out there and win a huge blood round match by major decision to guarantee placement on early. First thing Saturday morning, one of the very first matches, right, at 102 pounds. You're like the first one on the mat that day. You got to wake right up, weigh in, and get ready to wrestle. I mean, is that hard being the lightest guy?
It's kind of like, I kind of like it because you get your warm-up in and, like, get those nerves out, and then you're up right away, so you're feeling good.
Yeah.
But it kind of comes with its, like, disadvantages, too. Like, just, like, you're the first match, kind of get those pre-match jitters, like, right away. Like, you're up first.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Awesome.
Yeah.
What do you got, Francis?
No, that's it. No, that's it for me.
That's it for you? Okay.
No, I had a brain fart there.
Oh, it's okay. Well, listen, I wanted to ask about your team this year. Obviously, you guys wrestled together, had that combined Hamburg-Eden thing, and when I early on in the season, when I was doing my season previews and stuff, talking to Coach Page and Coach Schmitz, and I'm like, how's the coaching going to work? And I was very, very delighted to know that all the coaches were going to be intact. Yeah. How important was that for both sets of you, for both of your perspectives, to make sure, it's kind of new, obviously, with the Eden thing, obviously a legendary program, and I am 100% certain we'll be back to having our own Eden team wrestling. That is definitely the goal. Very proud tradition, Coach Page and his group down there, right? Definitely the goal to get the participation numbers back up, and I'm certain that they'll be back in a matter of no time. but how important was it for both sets of you to make sure that you had your coaches were maintained and intact? Like no one was just going to be like, oh, well, we don't have enough coaching spots to pay everybody, so you got to like buzz off or something for this year. You know, how important was it for you to have all your Hamburg coaches there? And how important was it for you to have Coach Page and Coach Weber and all the gang there? Go ahead, you can start, Kenny.
I think it was like actually huge because
Yeah.
we all know each other just from Lake Erie Wrestling
Mhm.
Club, so we're all already comfortable with each other. Like I'm comfortable with Coach Page and Coach Weber, and Trevor's comfortable with my dad and Thurner and all those guys. So I think having everyone in the room, like just it was almost like a sense of security blanket, just like for the Eden wrestlers, so they didn't feel like weirded out by not having their own coaches. And
Right.
same with Hamburg, like we had our coaches.
Because you guys had to practice. You practiced in Hamburg every day, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, there you go. That's different. I mean, obviously, Trevor, you would have grown up, I mean, I know you're a freshman still, but a lot of time in the summer spent in Hamburg at Lake Erie Wrestling Club, so you're already familiar with that. But during the season, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
Right. So, what was your perspective?
It was definitely different. It was fun to be part of like a full team.
Yeah.
That aspect was definitely like a great part of the merger, but like it was also great to have like all the coaches.
Yeah.
Have all the coaches like what Kenny was saying, like a security blanket.
Yep.
And just having like that, all those like high level coaches in the room, like really makes something special. Like our team was.
You agree, Luke?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we had the best coaching staff in the section this year, in my opinion. But yeah, no, it was pretty great because we've always been pretty close with Eden, like already, because we've always just practiced with them growing up, and then this year, like we all already, most of us already knew the Eden guys, so the transition went pretty smooth.
Yeah, I mean, they just had to. Eden was in a situation where they didn't have really a ton of wrestlers signed up this year. Unfortunately, happens. You know, every schools kind of go through that once in a while. And Hamburg, in their administration, was nice enough to say, "Listen, let's make this thing work for this year. You know, our towns are right nearby. Our kids are familiar with one another. Our coaching staffs are already kind of intertwined in the off season, and it worked out perfectly. I think the Eden wrestlers had a great experience that they'll be able to take back to their team. And I think the Hamburg experience obviously was very good with a couple of very, very talented wrestlers, and it kind of made the room better, I guess, in most parts of the lineup. And I mean, and also knowing Eden and knowing that a big goal of theirs, like they're not ones to be like, well, let's just merge and then never unmerge. You see that way too often. Their goal is to like, no, we're going to put our own team back in the mat. We just got to get our participation up. And you have an enormous kids club down there right now, right?
Yeah.
How many strong?
I think my dad runs it. I think like usually we have like 50 per year, so like it's going good.
Look at that. So
Wow.
it's 50. Eden. And Eden is a bigger and a mid-tier, probably Class C size wrestling school. So definitely in like the Class C, D tier, we have 5 wrestling classifications. We used to have 5. Now we have 4. C and D are kind of combined. So Eden's always been like probably the middle upper level of the Class C. So I mean that's not bad for a school with beds numbers that were right around 300 or so this year. That's pretty good. Obviously, you know, over time it gets the attrition takes its toll a little bit. But that's a promising sign, I think, for Eden Wrestling. So, awesome. All right, so you Hamburg guys, you guys are both outgoing seniors. You guys have been a part of some great teams and some competitive league races. I think do you both wrestle in the sectional duels at some point in your career? Maybe younger, before COVID.
Yeah.
Explain to me what's it like being an Eden wrestler at Hamburg for 4 or 5 years on the varsity level?
So I didn't make varsity until my freshman year, I think, just because I was too small. But just like wrestling varsity freshman year, like being a part of a team, because I mean youth club, you practice with a team, but you never compete as a team.
Sure.
So like learning to compete with a team and for your team, like I think that's so much fun, and the coaches make it all about that until the postseason. Like like you're not wrestling for anyone but your team, and like they make you know that, and I think that's really important. So just like knowing that you're all together and we're all one family, and I think we really took that in, like that we're all family.
Yeah, I like that. What do you got?
It was definitely a little different for me because usually I've been used to being the younger guy on the team my whole life because I've been on varsity since 7th grade, and then sophomore year I didn't wrestle because of COVID, because it intervened with lacrosse.
Yeah.
And then last year it was just a weird year coming back. Had to get rolling with the wrestling feeling again.
Mm-hmm.
And then this year I just had to step up as a leader, kind of. And it wasn't really hard, but I don't know, we had some great guys on our team, and it was pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, you guys Kenny and Luke kind of anchored parts of their lineup where there was Luke and a bunch of other good wrestlers right around him in the lineup, and then there was Kenny, and Kenny isn't 118, big enough to where there was kids like Trevor and Bryce that are right around him in weight that are a little lighter, and also some that are a little bit heavier. And Luke, I think, is the same way at 172 pounds, where there's enough space where there's some guys that are a little heavier, a little bit lighter. I think it worked out perfectly having two seniors in those roles right where you were in the lineup. Very versatile, and obviously, able to you're light, you're able to wrestle a guy like Trevor. In terms of weight, very similar. Same thing with you, right? You got Jeff and Evan and some of those guys right around you who may have a little bit of weight on you, maybe they don't. But either way, it's nice having the seniors in those roles for sure. Not bookending the lineup, right kind of in the middle of meaty parts of the lineup. I think that helped big time in terms of your dual meet schedule. What do you think? Or dual meet competitiveness, what do you think? Do you agree? Or
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Let me ask this question. I'm asking for a lot of athletes who've walked in our doors. We mentioned about the Lake Erie wrestling big youth component. There's the wrestling that your dad runs in Eden. Let's say there's a wrestler in there, 5th, 6th grade. They're like, oh, I'm pretty good at this. They looked up to you guys. They say, hey, these guys go to states. I want to do that. What would be your advice to them right now?
Probably just to keep it and don't let anything else convince you that you can't do it. Because there's gonna be people who say what's the point? But it's all worth it in the end. If you get to what you want, it's all worth it.
Okay.
For me, I would just say, you just gotta always back up your talk with your work, and if you want something, you gotta keep that vision in mind always, and just work for it, because you can't just have excuses and just outside things get in your way. If you want something that bad and you just work specifically for that, you'll get it.
I was just leave no doubt, kind of like what Lou said, if you just go out there, give it everything you got, trust in the process, trust the work you put in, it'll pay out.
All right. Hell yeah. What's next, guys? What's next for you, Kenny? What's going on next?
Right now, just looking at colleges, trying to figure out where I'm going, what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Because I know I want to major in exercise science.
Oh, great.
But just trying to figure out if I like the wrestling programs and what colleges I like best.
Yeah. So you're interested in wrestling still?
Yeah.
Cool. What about you?
I'm definitely trying to play lacrosse in college. I'm not really too sure what I'm gonna major in yet. I'm still deciding on a couple things, but yeah, I got a couple options for next year.
Sorry, Trevor, I'm not asking you about college. I want to ask Luke. I know Luke's a great lacrosse player as well. So what's the outlook on the Bulldog season this year? What's going on with that?
We're looking pretty good. We still got a lot of good seniors this year, and then especially some juniors too. But yeah, it's definitely gonna be nice. I remember when I was on this team 2 years ago on JV, we only lost one game, and that was a really fun team. So I think our I don't know about this skill level compared to last year if we're gonna have just as much as that, but I think our chemistry is gonna be a lot better.
Okay.
What advantage do you think wrestling brings to the lacrosse field for you?
For me it's tremendous, because I'm a face-off guy myself, and when I'm taking face-offs, I'm basically in a wrestling stance, and you look at top-notch face-off guys, pro level, college level, and a lot of them have wrestled. I know one guy, T.D. Erlin. He's one of the best face-off guys probably in the game of lacrosse, and he wrestled at Victor, and he got, I think, 4th at states his senior year. So wrestling definitely helps a lot.
Walk me through that. What exactly, maybe for those who aren't familiar with lacrosse or familiar with wrestling, how do those two skill sets really marry with that?
How
Why what exactly are you doing in the face-off that so much resembles wrestling?
Well, I feel like it's like a lot of it's like just like me getting low to the ground and in that like wide sturdy stance, and then once that whistle blows, like wrestling, once the whistle blows and you're on bottom, you have to like have that quick reaction time to get out, get the first move. For lacrosse, it's similar. It's like you just have to get the ball, get the clamp. So the whistle blows, and my one objective is to get my head over the ball and to exit out of there. But yeah.
Well said. Great question, Francis. I always love when wrestlers come in here and we get the, how does wrestling do this for you? And like whatever skill, I love it. It's the best. We do it for everything, right? Football, lacrosse, you name it. Doesn't matter. Kenny likes to underwater basket weave in the spring. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. What's the legacy? What do you guys want to see? What do you think's the trajectory of? I'll ask you guys Hamburg, and then I'll ask Trevor about Eden. But what's the trajectory? What do you see next for Hamburg wrestling? Is there a good modified team now? Do you have like a booster club? What's the support like from outside of school? I know some things about Hamburg, but I don't know as much as you guys do. So tell me, what's the program support like to keep the machine going? Because even if you don't win the league title every year at Hamburg, you guys are one of the most consistent programs, I would say, in Western New York in terms of being competitive in the league race, winning 10 or winning double-digit matches, getting somebody to the States every year. Like, it's a very consistent program. So what's the infrastructure like to keep it so consistent year over year?
I know that during COVID, our youth club kind of like fell apart, but we're starting it back up. And
yeah.
I went up there and helped out a few times this year, and we got a few good kids up there, and like
great.
Having a strong youth club definitely helps. And same with our modified. In 7th and 8th grade, I wrestled on modified just so I could get some matches, and like they were smaller teams, like 7, 8 guys, but now there's got to be at least 20 kids, 15.
That's great.
So I think having those two teams like definitely helps to build like a good base for when they get onto varsity.
And don't feel bad about COVID because everybody's program got kicked in the behind by COVID. It's up to us now to keep it, to invest our time and our resources to get them back up and established, because it had such a bad effect on wrestling, more so than many other sports. I mean, some guys, like you didn't even wrestle that spring, right? Because I think your school just said you got to do one or the other, right? So you guys were like, well, I'm a big lacrosse player, so I should probably play lacrosse, which I don't blame you for whatsoever. But stuff like that, that spring 2021 year was just a mess, and we got it. And obviously, we all know the news. Like we were all over it with getting delayed that spring in Erie County, not wrestling for a month, and everybody else is wrestling. All that other stuff. We got to leave that stuff in the past and worry about how we're going, what we're doing in the future, right?
Yeah.
So.
But what my take is on our future for our team this next couple of years, like especially our varsity team, we got a lot of young guys. Like I think we only have 2 or 3 guys graduating next year.
Yeah.
Great.
And then especially like we have some 8th graders, some freshmen, some sophomore, and like I could definitely see some of those guys going to states in the next couple of years, and they got a lot of time for improvement. So I think we'll be doing pretty good, and we got a strong coaching staff to keep it going.
How much do you guys wrestle in the off season?
I pretty much wrestled year round. I would take like August off, and that was pretty much it. Like after varsity season went over, I'd start up in Lake Erie in the spring, and they transfer into like freestyle wrestling. So I do freestyle in the summer, and last summer I went to Fargo Nationals, and I did a few other freestyle tournaments. So just trained all summer long, basically.
Great.
I kind of do the same as Kenny. Just like right after varsity, transition to Lake Erie, do and then the freestyle stuff. It's pretty much the same stuff.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of slack on the off-season wrestling. For Lake Erie, I honestly, most you'd probably see me at is like a couple practices, because I'm always playing lacrosse in the off season.
Lacrosse is your first sport.
Yeah,
that's fair.
But so I'd say within the last couple of years, I haven't really done much off season, but I've always played like club lacrosse and that stuff, but still love the sport of wrestling.
Yeah, that's great. So Trevor's going to be I think the merger's still on for next year as far as I know. So assuming we're still Hamburg Eden next year, you got some big shoes to fill, you and your cousin probably, and some others. Who else is coming back next year that we should know about?
Sam Birdie, he'll be tough.
Okay.
Just like last year, and Evan Bronchild. Another good young guy.
Jeff Lavelle's graduating, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So definitely some big shoes to fill, but we could definitely keep our team competitive and just like this year.
Yep.
Like top 5 in the section.
Yeah, had a really good season in a really tough division, obviously.
Yeah.
Star Point was in there. Amherst, you guys wrestled a very good Amherst team. Iroquois ended up being pretty scrappy. Obviously, we know where their league standing was, but you never count out the Chiefs and Coach Clock and those guys. And then I think who else did we wrestle in the non-league? Frontier, right? I think we wrestled for the Hamburg Hammer for the very first time. Did you see that, Francis?
No, I missed that. It sounds pretty good though.
It's like a big wooden gavel for the first time. They exchange it. So I mean, how far are the schools apart? Frontier and Hamburg, like a mile, 2 miles?
It's
probably 2 or 3.
Yeah, maybe 2 or 3. It's like 10, 15 minutes.
Right.
It's
Point is, it's not that far.
Yeah,
so
no.
they weren't in the same league this year. With the way that the league got restructured with like the Eden News and stuff, Hamburg ended up bouncing down to Division 2, ECIC 2, whereas they're normally in ECIC 1. With some of the bigger schools, it just so happened that way. It really doesn't matter. It's all just like basically just a chess game of similar bed sizes. And Pioneer was going to be in Division 2, and then they got bumped down back to Division 3. So it made a nice even, I think, 7 teams in each division, each one of the 3 divisions this year, which is normally how ECIC will schedule it, right? They don't want to have like 9 teams in one division and 6 in another one. They'd rather have it be even throughout. So yeah, I mean. All around, very good Hamburg Eden year for Hamburg Eden. Even with the merger, I think it turned out to be a success, especially knowing that Eden will eventually one day do its own thing. I was very glad to see the coaching staffs all intact, see those guys every weekend, and coaching each other too, right? Like I look over and I'd see Coach Page and Coach Weber maybe in like one of your corners, or like a mixed match of like Hamburg Eden coaches. So obviously everybody gets along very well. Like a ton of history there.
Yeah.
So. Well, I'm good. That does it for me, guys. I appreciate your time. Francis, you got anything left for these guys, or?
No, I think that's it for me.
All right. Listen, congrats on a great season, boys, and thanks for coming in, and good luck. I'll be following you guys in the future and stuff. So, yeah, we can take a break maybe and come back and finish up the rest of it.
Yeah, we'll take a break, and then Matt will give his final thoughts on the 2022-2023 season. You're watching High School Sports Saturday on Western New York Athletics.
Sometimes it just isn't your day. We all need a little help from time to time. That's why we're committed to providing safe, quick, and cost-effective care. And we keep it simple. Just walk in. We're here for you. Learn more today.
Do you insure a lot of businesses?
Yes, we do.
How about restaurants?
We got a bunch.
Do you cover property damage?
Yes, we do.
How about my equipment?
Covered.
How about sewer backup?
We got it.
What if my cook gets hurt?
They're covered.
Foodborne illnesses?
Covered.
What if my party tent goes down?
Covered under property damage.
And you say this is all under one policy?
One policy.
When do I pay?
Once a month.
Just one time?
Just one.
Is there anything you don't cover?
What's your record for consecutive questions asked?
31.
Tables. We don't do tables.
Gotta love Buffalo.
For all your insurance questions, call the Wolf at 835-WOLF.
We realize now more than ever is the perfect time to have the perfect house. We're confident we'll find your dream home. Howard Hanna. Home happens here.
All right, welcome back. Final segment, High School Sports Saturday. Francis back with Matt O'Rourke. We're going to wrap up the wrestling season. So, Matt, let me ask you this. There were a lot of kids from Section 6 who came down there. I know in a perfect world you'd love to copy yourself 30 times and watch every single match. But what was kind of your game plan of who you were going to watch live? Because I know you said you eventually went back and saw everything in track wrestling. But who did you actually see live? Was it what you wanted to do? Who did you kind of lean towards?
Excuse me. I can't really pick out one or two individuals. I definitely wanted to keep an eye on our top seeds, like Cam, like Catcherbone and Jaden Crumpler and some of those guys, just because I wanted to see, if they could. I knew that their weight class, like obviously the expectations for those guys are big. Definitely weight classes where I knew that there was a lot of returning stars. Like at 126 small schools where Jordan Jocelyn, our state champion, one of our state champions is. He came back with a very, very deep weight class and, ended up on top of it. And I knew that there was going to be a lot of returning state qualifiers or place winners in that weight, and I wanted to see how he would do, so I kind of kept my eye on him. I wanted to kind of watch some wrestlers I don't normally see a ton of during the season, to be honest with you. I was very happy to see Maple Grove's Matt Trim at 189 pounds. He was our section champ. Took 8th in the state in small schools, so he'll be one of our returning place winners next year. So it actually gave me an opportunity to watch some wrestlers I don't see all the time. I had an opportunity to watch Wilson, 3 wrestlers from Wilson. I mean, I could go on and on about what they did this year, but they smashed their program record board thoroughly and had 3 wrestlers at the state tournament, including their first state champ or place winner since 2008. So they did a fabulous job. And then also, I get caught up watching wrestlers from other parts of the state as well, from towns that I'm familiar with or from other parts of the state that, you hear some of these names and some of the stuff that some of these young athletes have done during the season. And it's like, oh, now it's my chance. I want to watch that guy. I heard he had a great season. Let me go watch him real quick, too. I mean, it's just impossible to watch every single one of our 58 wrestlers' matches, and they all wrestle at least twice. So, you could end up seeing 500-600 matches just from Section 6 Monsignor Martin kids at the state tournament with the amount of wrestlers we have there. So it's a lot to take in.
Who were some of your postseason awards go to?
So I like to tack on a final say basically on the season for what it's worth, I guess, for anybody who cares anymore. I usually wrap it up with my final wrestling rankings, my team rankings, standings. I keep track of the standings throughout the season and my own postseason award winners. In addition to what the Western New York Wrestling Coaches Association does, obviously Western New York Wrestling Coaches Association is the authority on the awardees and the Hall of Fame and the recognition at the end of the season. So I always wait until after they come out with their awards to say, here's some extras that I want to just had a great season. I mentioned.
Do you ever disagree with them?
No.
No?
No, their choices are solid.
Okay.
No. Last Sunday was the Western New York Wrestling Coaches Association Awards Banquet, and I was lucky enough to be asked to host it or MC it, and I had a ton of fun at it. We had the Al Fights Memorial Contributors Award for someone who's not like a coach but outside of the program, who does a lot to support it, and Starpoint's athletic director Vinny DeLoso actually won that. Big supporter of wrestling at Starpoint. Obviously, they had a great dual season. The Ilio DiPaolo Family Commitment to Wrestling Award is another one for someone who the WNYWCA believes goes above and beyond to just do those little extra things. Maybe not an administrator or a coach or someone with an official title and an official
volunteer.
Capacity. You basically, yeah. So Chautauqua Lake's Ashley Rowe actually won that, well deserved by Ashley. The John Vesper Award was handed out to Starpoint head coach Steve Hart, which is basically an award for, in summary, in memory of a legendary Clarence head coach, John Vesper, who all around was just the embodiment of what a wrestling coach should be in terms of the effort and the attitude and all that other kind of stuff. Joe Kraus was awarded the Media Award. We all know Joe has done a lot with WNY Athletics, got hired for GNN this fall, I believe, and immediately got thrown into, all things high school wrestling for Greater Niagara area, or all things, Greater Niagara sports.
Well, he's got, Starpoint up there, Newfane, Wilson, Niagara Falls, Niagara Wheatfield. Right. So it's kind of a hotbed for wrestling.
So I mean, like I said at the awards banquet, I was able to introduce him, and I said, I know from experience, following Niagara area wrestling could be a full-time job. So for me, just to be able to balance, just to do wrestling is enough, but I can't imagine having to do basketball and hockey and all that other stuff, especially when I'm not someone who doesn't know about all those sports. So, Joe did a really nice job. And then, we had our Hall of Fame class of 2023, included John Carlton, who's a former coach at Ripley, Kellen Devlin, former Amherst High School wrestler and also obviously currently active in the coaching ranks. Matt Mariacker, former wrestler and state champ at Iroquois. Dan Paulson, who was a state champ from North Tonawanda, Dr. Dan Paulson, and Tim Slade. Obviously, we all know Tim, and so that was our Hall of Fame class for wrestling, WNYWCA 2023 Hall of Fame class. So a very strong Hall of Fame class too.
For those who don't know who Tim Slade is, he's the former executive director of Section 6, the charge of all of Section 6 all sports.
Yep. Was a wrestler in high school.
Iroquois, right?
Yep. Was a wrestler in high school, wrestled collegiately at Brockport, and then all throughout his time as an administrator in Western New York was a very, very strong advocate and supporter of wrestling across the region. So we had a bunch of coaches awards as well. Our assistant coach of the year was Kyle McGregor from Star Point, and our Division II coach of the year, assistant coach of the year, was Don Duncanson from Medina High School. So two good assistant coaches. All of our league champion teams were recognized, and their coaches were awarded. In ECIC 1, the coach of the year was Clint Schaefer from Lancaster. In ECIC 2, Steve Hart from Star Point. In ECIC 3, Coach Edwards from Pioneer. You see I'm rocking the Pioneer stuff today. Just happened to find it. Monsignor Martin, coach of the year, was Coach Kennedy from St. Joe's. And I wanted a coach to come in today, but I think they're hosting something at school.
He's back coaching, because I know he left for a couple of years.
He left for a year or two. Yep, he's back in charge of the Marauders. CCAA 1 coach of the year was Ken Rowe from Chautauqua Lake. They had an excellent season. Sectional Division II champions, and then the ECI or the CCAA 2 coach of the year was Steve Raymond from Frewsburg. Frewsburg took third in their division, but their numbers this year were incredible compared to the last couple of years. So shout out to Coach Raymond and all of Frewsburg Wrestling. Small beds numbers, they're the fourth smallest school in Section 6 by beds that has their own team that is not combined with anybody, and they still were able to put almost a full lineup out there, I think, on most, if not all, of their league matches. So that's a really nice thing, and I'm glad that the coaches in the division, the coaches vote on it, and the coaches in the division recognized him for his efforts. So that's really great. And then the Niagara Orleans coach of the year was Coach Mike Carlo from Wilson. Wilson, I had mentioned, they essentially smashed their program record board this year. And then I also just realized that I forgot to list one on here. The Niagara Frontier League coach of the year was Coach Sweeney from Niagara Wheatfield. Falcons had an incredible season, probably overshadowed a little bit by how good Star Point was, but I mean, Wheatfield ends up sending 7 kids to the state tournament, reaches the sectional dual final again, reaches the NISFA dual meet championships again. I mean, just another routine year for the Falcons and Coach Sweeney. So shout out to them. Coach Sweeney on year number 47 of coaching wrestling. You can believe that. So, those were the WNYWCA awards, and then of course the female wrestler of the year. So they recognize all the state champions too. The female wrestler of the year in Western New York was a freshman from Iroquois, Michaela Thomas, very impressive wrestler. I think she had a top 5 finish at the Girls Invitational at 152 pounds. Very impressive young wrestler to keep an eye on. Our Division I champion of champions was Jaden Crumpler from the Falls, and our D2 champion of champions was Jordan Joslin from Chautauqua Lake. So obviously top to bottom, a very, very strong lineup of awards and recognition for wrestlers, coaches, and contributors this year, right from the Western New York Wrestling Coaches Association. So then, like I said, I usually jump in and do my own set of awards. Nothing that's the same title as the WNYWCA awards, some that are a little different, just for purposes of who I thought had a great season also. So I call it my special recognition head coach, my special recognition assistant coach, because I don't want to say my assistant coach of the year. We already have an assistant coach of the year, right? The WNYWCA already recognized them thoroughly. That's part of the function of WNYWCA is to do that kind of stuff. So I thought Coach Bauer at Amherst had a great season. Took third in their division in ECIC 2, but had another very, very solid lineup. Full lineup with well-rounded wrestlers. Thought he did a great job. My special recognition assistant coach was Trevor Delahoy from Falconer. They once again had a very strong season, took third in the sectional dual meet tournament, second in their league. Probably, I mean, I kind of struggled with my final rankings this week because I didn't know what to do with Newfane and Falconer, and they didn't wrestle head-to-head this year. I ended up giving the edge to Falconer, but that would be a very good match, and maybe I can get them all to wrestle one more time, just so for my own entertainment purposes. My special recognition male athlete was Kenny Schmitz, who was just here. I like to award a wrestler who maybe isn't in the state final or the state champion, maybe not the best in their weight class, but who puts his heart and soul on the mat every day for wrestling, and that was Kenny Schmitz. And then my special recognition female athlete was Megan Edwards from Lewiston Porter, along the same lines as Kenny. You know, some wrestler who I've seen compete for quite some time, last couple of years, a really big advocate and driving force for girls wrestling in the area. Obviously, in the last couple of years, it's new. So Megan and her sister Gwyneth were easy targets, I guess, in terms of the media that wants to talk about girls wrestling.
Well, they've been around for a while.
They've been around for a while, and they're very, very knowledgeable and well-spoken. So I thought who better to recognize than a wrestler like Megan, who has been a good, what's the word I'm looking for?
Ambassador?
A good ambassador, a good ambassador for girls wrestling overall, and not just in Niagara County, but for all of this region of the state. So I had a newcomer. My match of the year was Wheatfield over Falls at the sectional dual meet tournament. Not the league match, the sectional dual meet tournament.
Okay.
It's 27-19. It's very rare to find a 27-19 high school wrestling match. That's like, you'll find college scores that are along the lines of 27-19. It was a very, very good match in the sectional dual semi. My newcomer of the year was Cam's younger brother, Tanner, 7th grader. I think he took 3rd or 4th in the section this year at 102 pounds big school. Once he was able to make that weight consistently, he was a really nice piece of the lineup for the Spartans, and I know he will be next year. My unheralded wrestler award, I like to award to a wrestler that has been around for a long time, very well accomplished, but somebody we don't hear as much as we should about, and that was Austin Chase from Falconer, who ends up with 170 wins, was actually on that team that won the state title in 2020, started that match off in the final against the two-time defending champion Mount Sinai with a pin as like a freshman or a sophomore that year. So that was huge. My Selfless Soldier Award, Joey Keller from Clarence. Joey dropped a ton of weight, put it upon himself to make himself healthier and lose weight, and was a big part of the lineup for Clarence this year, right in the middle part, right at 145, 152 pounds. And I know Coach Storr pretty well, was a big supporter of his guy taking it upon himself to do the right things for his own self and his own body, and for the team ultimately as well, helping them get into a better situation. Then, of course, I had my outstanding wrestler in each league in CCAA 1, Tavio Hoos, New York State champion in Division II from Southwestern, in Division II from Maple Grove, Matt Trim. In the NFL, Jaden Crumpler. In the NO, Hamza Merrick, who was Newfane obviously had some 3 top 5 place winners. They had a finalist, a 4th place winner. JJ ended up taking 4th, and Buttery, who was here, took 5th. But I thought Hamza had a fantastic year, broke the Wilson program wins record for wins in a season, and was their first state place winner since 2008. So a great season for Hamza and the Lakemen. My outstanding wrestler in the Monsignor Martin League was Nick Macero. Took 5th in the state this year, one of 2 5th-place winners for St. Joe's. So they had Macero take 5th at 126, which was where Jaden Crumpler and Marfield Reynolds Jr., both from Niagara Falls, were. So Western New York, 3 wrestlers in the top 8 of the big school bracket at 126 pounds are all within like 2 miles of each other, because Macero's from Grand Island, and then the 2 others from Niagara Falls. So a bridge. They're separated, but 3 of the best wrestlers in New York State at that weight were separated by a bridge this year. So figure that one out. In the ECIC 1, of course, Cam Catcherbone, state champ, my MOW. In ECIC 2, Griffin LaPlante from Star Point. And then ECIC 3, Xander Kirsch from Pioneer was my MOW this year. He's a senior, outgoing as well. So I picked all those award winners. I wrote that stipulation in my thing. I don't write that in there because I want people to know I want it. So in case there's any anger, you send it my way, and not at Francis or Frank. But yeah, that's my award winners for the end of the year. I know we kind of already went over it, but my expectations next year are already gigantic. I'm expecting an incredible, tremendous offseason from these wrestlers. You hear, the ones that have been here today that are underclassmen are already talking about what their next plans are this year or this summer. I mentioned earlier that there's already practices going on right now. I know the KD6 Club is up and going. I know UB, Coach Spann, Coach Stutzman over there at UB, open their doors 3 days a week for their club. I highly suggest wrestlers take advantage of that. Some obviously Division I level college coaching just opens their doors. I hope you take advantage of. I actually went to practice the other day. It was fun. I strapped on my shoes, kind of ran around a little bit. It was fun. It was cool. But yeah, I'm expecting a tremendous offseason leading right into another big regular season next year, especially in Division II, where we have a ton of returning place winners back, and then in Division I, where we have a ton of state qualifiers back, led by a state champion. I'm expecting another huge year next year.
Are there any big local off-season events that people might want to try to check out?
Yeah, Nickel City Duels is, I hope I get this right, I think it's the first weekend in June. Let's see, May, I think it's June 10th, or 10th maybe. I'm sorry, but it's the first week. It's early in June sometime. The Nickel City Duels. That's a big event. I'm hoping to get there and be there all day for that.
How many those are high school kids, right?
Yeah.
So you'll see plenty of those kids that play in the winter, wrestle in the winter. Will be there.
Yeah, right. It's after most of the spring sports should be done. Maybe postseason for like the elite teams are still going on by then. But you should. Anybody that's an underclassman should be making sure that they get a team together for the Nickel City Duels. Thousand Islands Duels will be in August. That's obviously up in Clayton, a couple hours away, but that's a great fun weekend. And then, of course, whatever camps pop up around here this year. I know there's a big camp going on right now in Lockport today. I know Niagara Falls Wrestling Club is already open. Niagara Falls Wrestling Club has Mondays. I think they do girls-only practices with Carlene Sablerski, who's the new women's head coach at Dewville College. So, the opportunities are out there. There's all sorts of wrestling. And if you don't know where to find them, find me on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, Matt O'Rourke, Wrestling Roundtable, whatever, and I'll help direct you to where to go to find off-season work, because it's all around us. It's everywhere. And if you don't want to wrestle around here, just go east. Just go east to Section 5 or Section 3. There's wrestling literally all over the place. And I think everyone is on the same wavelength, where we're all seeing that, we're all ready to get over the effects of COVID and kind of move on in terms of our wrestling programs. And I think that everyone around the state has kind of realized that after a really tremendously successful state tournament. I think that everyone around the state is kind of fully out of their shell, fully back to let's invest our time and resources into these kids programs again. You heard a couple high school kids here even admit we took a toll on that, and they, kids are perceptive, but it's important to get back out there and share your knowledge and your time with the next generation. So keep this thing going. So honestly, that's it for me, Francis. I don't have anything else. I don't have any words left. I'm sick of hearing my own voice. Everybody's sick of hearing my voice. Give me till November next year, and I'll come busting back in here, ready to talk some wrestling. No, I've got some stuff to do. I've got some stuff to work on still. I'm always going to be out there doing my thing. But that's kind of the summary on the season for me. Anything else you got? Anything on the tip of your brain?
No, that's it for me. Do you want to do a reminder to you all out there? Boys basketball regionals happening today, Buff State, and out in Rochester. I think the first games are underway on the NFHS network, so tune into that. Yep. State championships next week. But yeah, that'll about do it. So for Matt O'Rourke, we want to thank our guests for coming in. I'm Francis Beck. Thank you for tuning in. This was High School Sports Saturday on WNY Athletics.